Welcome to Module 4. You are now essentially at 80% of the course is done. Actually, for some of you who I've been working with because you got a little early start, you're actually almost at the point of turning in your project, which is very good. But as I said in Module 3, Module 4 gives us an opportunity to look at the structure of how this thing is designed initially, and then whether you feel it met the expectations of structure that you had when you entered. You will be filling out in about another week or so a self-evaluation, and your mentor will be doing one as a kind of a formative assessment where you and that individual will sit down and go over it. What I like best about this course is that it is a pass-fail course. You're in a situation where between your mentor, myself, and you, it's an equilateral triangle, and we make this an experience that when you think back 5 years, 10 years from now, that this will be one of those stars that will shine most brightly in the firmament of your education. I don't want to sound too eloquent about that, but I think very clearly what I learned, as I told you early on in the course, I had to do two, and I'm still using parts of both because I was very fortunate. I had a major professor. You have Dr. Davis, who's about as good as they come, who was able, based on his life experience, to show me what I should get out of the internship. I was quite young at the time and probably would have missed some of what he told me, and certainly would have missed some of what my mentors, and they were two different mentors in those things. So let's take a look at the slide in Module 4. What does it take to be a good mentor? This is kind of a reflection again. You've looked at this mentor. I'm sure if you think back on your educational career, you've had other mentors. So my question, we think back on what it takes to be a good mentor, and then can you speak to some of the specific highlights where that individual showed you that what was required was being met or exceeded? And then the second half of that, how would you, just role reversal, how would you feel if you were preparing for an internship right now? You're going to have a protege reporting to you. What from your experience would you take with you into the first several relationships with this new individual? And believe it or not, that may happen. The more reading I do and the more interaction I have, you're going to see some very real changes in the next decade. Very less seat time, a lot more out in the field, a lot more collaborative team building, learning community building. These things are coming. Okay, now that you've done that, I would like you to take a careful look at your experience up to now, the 80% that I mentioned. And can you give me some examples? This is kind of a bias that I may have because I need to be restructuring this for the next time it comes down. How have you engaged your mentor on a step-by-step process? Since A, it is that individual's institution that is hosting you, and B, that individual has more experience. Unless you're in the wrong internship, and by now we would have known that, has more experience with what you were working with than you do. But you came equipped with some expertise, some insights, and some creativity. And how has those aspects of being a good mentor and being an effective protege worked its way into your project? I'd like to see a paragraph or so in your journal about that. Okay. Now the next thing, again, because I'm looking at this, because there will be a meeting, Dr. Bondima, who does the doctoral students, and myself will be sitting down with Dr. Dorsey, who is our department director, and talking about what can we do to make this a better experience, because each of you is making a contribution, albeit you may not know you were doing it, as we try to learn from the experiences you've had, reinforce the good ones, and remove the ones that were perhaps could have been better. So the idea is to look at the partnership process, and if you could, try to hit some of the critical incidents as your relationship became, and I shouldn't say became, moved from superordinate, subordinate to almost partners. And I suspect that when you take just a second before you start to write, just think a little bit, reflect, that there was probably more there than when it got started you ever thought was going to be there. I'm as you know, I'm a naive optimist anyway, but I think that you're going to find that that was very important, and it will have some real payoffs for you in the future, in your future career. Okay, now the next one is a little more interesting, because one of the things that the last slide in Module 4 talks about is the nature of the partnership. What is going to happen now? You're coming up on turning in your project. You're going to make, you and your mentor will decide what you're going to do. Some people have made presentations to an entire department. Some have made it to a small leadership group. Some have just sat down with a provost or a vice president or even a dean and talked about what you did and what the subsequent follow-up is going to be. But when you reflect on all of that, one of the things that has always interested me, and in both cases, both of my internships for some time, I maintained a relationship with my mentors. The one gentleman has been gone for a while because I'm no kid anymore. And I was able to show him when I started to move into, particularly working with interns at the community college level. And I worked with them in sociology, I worked with them in education, I even worked with them in one of the technology programs. So it's very interesting how these things evolve. The other one, and I probably should see if that gentleman, because he wasn't that different in age than I am, I will be doing some work with one of the things that I studied in my internship. I was part of a medical primary care movement which grew out of Hopkins. I was working in the Midwest at the time, but Hopkins sent in some trainers. And one of the things that I picked up on was how do you create healthy living, healthy lifestyles? And for the last several years, I've been working with a program that Johns Hopkins has across the whole Middle Atlantic region to talk about healthy living after the age of 70. And so I've been looking back on what my mentor, although those many years ago, what he actually did. And I would like to be able to tell him. I may have to do some looking around. He could be gone too. I hope not, because I think he'd feel good about the fact that what he taught me to do and let me do, and then gave me good positive feedback on, actually has paid dividends right after. Because one of the areas that I worked in with mentors was senior social work interns in their senior experience, and much of what he taught me I could use. And now I'm going in, working through some public health kind of organizations, plus some masonry organizations that people are members of, to develop a model of this healthy lifestyle. So you've got a lot on your hands here, because not only you're trying to complete Module 4, which is a structural module, but you're also getting ready to turn in your project. It's been real for me. I hope it has been for you. You won't have to listen to my scratchy voice anymore after this one. Thank you.